Welcome back. It's still VOP this morning on VOP TV. The Lagos State government has disclosed its plan to implement a monthly rental payment scheme. The policy would be channeled to fit tenants' budget and charges will be made according to tenants' earning. The government revealed that it would test run the scheme first within the public sector since they can ascertain how much they earn. And once they see that it works in the public sector, it will extend to the private sector. The Lagos State's monthly rental scheme is set to be enforced before the end of 2024 or early 2025. Okay, but we know that in 2022, Governor Sanwo-Olu, during the inauguration of the 744 unit Lagos home ownership mortgage in Sango Tedo, said that monthly houses rent will be implemented in Lagos. Okay, but it's 2 years now, and he is coming back again to talk about the same scheme, which has to do with monthly payment of rent. We have Mr. John Akerele, who is a journalist and a public affairs commentator, Nick Agule, a chartered accountant, and Chukuma Okoro, a public affairs analyst, to join us on this topic. I want to ask Mr. John Akerele, okay, it's been 2 years since the government of Lagos State under the governorship of Sanwo-Olu talked about this monthly rental payment, saying that it will help to cushion the economic hardship on the people of Lagos State. Now, do you think this is going to come into fruition? Do you think it's going to be feasible?
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning to you in the studio and good morning to all the virtual guests.
Good morning.
Before I start on your question, let me remember Mr. Chukuma that he forgot some part of Abia State, and that is the area of Bende to the local government, going through Igbere, all through there is a very vast land that is a cashew plantation, and that's also good for local rice production, but that has been abandoned. So I hope the Abia State government will understand that Abia has more than enough to feed Southeast. That being said, let's now go to the issue of Lagos State government. I hate it when our leaders of today, cut, problems from the top, rather than looking at the fundamental issue. So let me give you a case scenario. You are building your house in Lagos now, and you bought a bag of cement for 10,000 naira to build that structure. At the end of the completion of the building of the structure, do you know the amount of money that it cost you to have that structure erected? Now, what role did the government play in terms of making that you have, subsidized materials for your own construction? And now the government is now coming to dictate pricing to you. It does not work that way. So, what is even the economic power of the people, the citizenry itself? So, if you are saying that you want to control how much somebody can charge as to his house rent because of the economic hardship, my dear, you're only fooling yourself. You cannot do that. And I'm sure that most landlords now will be planning on taking Lagos State government to court. And I can assure you they will win them in the court, because these things are so easy and straightforward. Even if you mean well, but that is not the best approach to go. I would have suggested a place where you have some infrastructures in place, some subsidies in place. What is your plan for housing? Lagos State have had uninterrupted governance for at least 20 years. All right? And if you are talking of the master plan, what master plan in terms of housing have you put on ground now, I can say? So it means that for me is dead on arrival. But if you will say you want to bring a policy and charge people on a monthly basis, now how much will they charge on a monthly basis? Are you not telling me that the minimum wage of 30,000 naira that some state government are not even paying, even in Lagos State? Is that what you want to pay your monthly house rent? So what I think we need to do is to see how we can improve the economic power of our people as citizens in Lagos. All right? So that when you bring us such policies, then we can say, now, this is what we should do. So what should we do as a people and as a government? One is to have a body, all right, that looks into infrastructures and housing. Two is that we should have subsidies in place so that by the time you are giving subsidies as a government, then that is when you can now, regulate pricing. Three is to look at the minimum wage of our civil servant and even to the private sector across board to make sure that every Lagos citizen that is a worker either in the public sector or in the private sector is well remunerated and have good welfare packages. Four is that all of these things should be embedded through data so that even there can be a rent to own scheme where not only government officials but even private individuals who are working with private companies can have a house, maybe about 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, a 1-bedroom, according to their family status, and they can rent to own as far as they are gainfully employed. And that can run for about 10, 15, 20, 30 years of them in that establishment. Okay. And with that, you see that you have solved this problem, in a very good way.
Thank you, Mr. Nick, for that. Okay, now to you, Mr. Chukuma. When the Lagos State government was reviewing this rental house thing, they were of the opinion that they have a legislative review, adequate one already in place. And then also because people were asking, is it not going to bring a rip between the landlord and the government of Lagos State, even the tenants too? But they were of the opinion they have an adequate legislative review to back them in carrying out this particular scheme of monthly rental payment. Now, do you think this adequate legislative review they have will actually yield anything, given the fact that we don't have any government-owned or subsidized buildings in Nigeria for now?
Okay, I think what the Lagos State government is trying to do, if you ask me, it's a good policy in the right direction, and it might actually take time to come to fruition. It might actually take a while before it comes to fruition. If you see how the progression of society, when a policy that is meant to achieve something comes into force, it doesn't always easily takes root effectively. There's always a period, a gestation period, a period of trial and error, up to the point where it becomes beneficial to everybody as a policy. I have lived overseas and I enjoy this monthly rent payment stuff, and I actually did appreciate it. I was in Lagos too when Fashola started the 1-year rent. If you want to park into apartment, landlord has no right to collect more than 1 year, because his argument then was, if you start work, the employer doesn't pay you 2 years or 3 years upfront. As some landlords used to say, you must have to pay 2 years before you park in. That said, it's a whole mixture of the economy, what the economy gives, and what the consumers receive. It's difficult, if you ask me, to tell somebody who probably used 40 million naira to build a house, to spread his earnings, his takings over 30 or 40 years, because that is what it amounts to if he has to collect monthly rates, monthly tenants. What happens that with time, government will keep tweaking it between the landlords association, the tenants, and every other body. Policy makers will keep tweaking it until such a point that it becomes beneficial to everybody.
All right.
I don't see a situation where the policy takes off today, enforced today 100%, and everybody complies. Like John Akroli said, there is every likelihood that landlords will go to court. Okay. And when they go to court, the court will become an arbiter. So, but let's see how it goes. But I think, if you ask me, even if it takes like 10, 15, 20 years to come to place, and that is exactly what will happen. It's a good thing. It's a good policy in the right direction.
Good policy indeed. Now let's put this in perspective. Nick, I'll be coming to you on this one. Now, government has said it will start with public servants, basically those that work for Lagos State, those that it knows how much they earn. Now, The Ambode administration started the Lagos Homes initiative, which was to create government homes for Lagosians that have that have what to prove that they have resided in Lagos for a long time to apply for. But how how has that spread around Lagos? Now, there is a list that came up in 2022 that talked about how this can be broken down, the different areas where government intends to build structures. All right, this is starting with government building structures and putting them up for rent. Now, the list here in 2022, we have Sir Michael Otedola Estate, Odoragunshin Ekpe, where room and parlor was pegged at 1.5 million. I think to break it down, you have about 75,000 monthly, and you also have a 15,820 naira payment to be made somewhere. And we also, when you go to Agbowa, Choice City, Agbowa, where two-bedroom was pegged at 3.5 million, and you're expected to pay 175,000 monthly. You know, there's a breakdown. It goes on and on. We have Ojokoro, Olaita Mustafa scheme, Ojokoro, 3-bedroom, 9 million. And Chukuma did say something. How much really does a civil servant earn for, in as much as I understand this payment will be spread for about 10 years or more, even for the civil servant working for the government? How feasible is this, seeing that according to your power, I don't know, maybe grade levels, maybe level 17 or 16, that ends up to earn substantial amounts to afford a house of about 3 million, and then you'll be paying what, 175,000 monthly? Isn't that a stretch? How feasible really is this? Before we even come to independent landlords accepting to comply, how feasible is this for the civil servant? Now, this was in 2022. We know that times have changed. The economy is a lot more stringent now with everything that that Nigerians are going through. There might be a review, but working with this one, how feasible is this, Nick? Now, you also do know, I mean, I'm lumping all my questions together. You also do know, what do you also think about this introduction that we are copying from the Western world? Knowing that we don't earn per hour, we earn monthly. Nick, please.
Thank you very much. So the first one is about the public housing, where Lagos State plans to build the houses. It's very much feasible that if the government builds houses and government, sells the houses to workers, and workers pay overtime. So basically what then happens is that instead of the workers paying rent, they are actually paying for their homes while they live in those homes. That's the mortgage system that you have elsewhere in the world. It's a very good system. I'm a beneficiary of the system. I came to the UK when I noticed how much rent would cost me per month. I told my wife that after our 6 months first rental contract, that we will have to start paying our mortgage. And as I speak today, we have fully paid the house that we live in now. If we didn't start paying mortgage, we could still be paying rent now.
How many years did that take you?
About 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So if we didn't start to pay the mortgage and we're paying rent, as of today, we will not even own a piece of window or door or any property in the UK. So it's a very good system. It's feasible. the Lagos State government, with sincerity of purpose, can get it done for the workers. By the time you are retiring into your own home, which you paid over time while you were living there and you are working. Now, coming to the rental payment, yes, if people are being paid monthly, there's no need for you to be taking annual rent from them. There are some landlords that are even taking 2 years rent from people. I understand the reason why landlords in Nigeria are trying to take annual rent, because it takes sometimes a bit of a struggle to get tenants to pay your rent. So instead of having 12 months of chasing rent every year, you want to just take it once. Even that once, most times you have to chase, because like I'm a landlord in Nigeria, I know that tenants don't just approach you and say your rent is due. But like where in the UK where we are, rent is on your direct debit. Direct debit means it's automated. Every month, the bank is going to take money from your account and pay your landlord. So it is then possible that your landlord is taking monthly rent without any sweat. So, like John Akerele said, if the Lagos State government wants to solve this, then they will have to find a way to protect landlords from tenants, so that landlords don't spend 12 times of chasing monthly rent in Lagos. If that be the case, then it is better for workers to be paying monthly rent, since they are being paid monthly. But the bit of the story that I didn't understand is where they said rent will now be paid based on the worker's income. And I'm like, okay, so if a worker on minimum wage decides to go and take an apartment in Ikoyi, the landlord of that apartment in Ikoyi should charge him rent based on his income, being minimum wage. I wasn't sure what Lagos State government is trying to achieve with that.
Yeah.
Perhaps they can give us additional information on how they
I was
will
actually going
like
to
to
get to
operationalize
that,
that.
Mr. Nick, but I wanted to ask Mr. John the question, because the fact that the federal government, the Lagos State government mentioned that they would collect tenants' money, knowing that the amount of money you earn every month. And I was going to ask, how are they going to possibly know how much you earn per month? That's one. And I know very well that Lagosians, also Nigerians, have been crying about the way landlords collect money from them when you go to look for an apartment, and then they say you pay the lawyer fee, you pay the agent fee. There's a lot of fees. Which people are regulating these fees actually? And then most times you come to an apartment and then you know very well that this is direct from the landlord, and the landlord tells you you're still going to pay lawyer fee and you're still going to pay agent fee. Who are the people that collect these agent fees? Are there not people to regulate these things? If you're supposed to pay 10% of a particular amount for getting an apartment, are you not supposed to regulate the 10% to all other houses? That's one. You mentioned the fact that it was a good step in the right direction when they said collecting the monthly fee from tenants. And we know very well, I know that you're not in Nigeria, and you know very well that Nigerians do not earn, like Mr. Moses said, Nigerians do not earn per hour or per day. We earn at the end of the month. How do you think that Nigerians who sell things, people that sell things at the market, who have to sell every day to get money to feed their children, how do you think they'll be able to manage to pay their house rent if they are being made to pay monthly?
Much for that question. To solve all these problems, we need to start from data collection. That is where Lagos State government should start from. The formal sector, the informal sector, most especially the informal sector, is not, captured when it comes to data. And because that is not captured, you don't even know the earning of the people. How many of these people that you've mentioned, the market women, have bank accounts? So it means that they still operate in the informal sector. So what should we do as a people? is to make sure that we have a good data so that we know per ward, per local government, how many people do we have that are unemployed? How many are semi-employed? How many are underemployed? So with that, you can put them into brackets as to a range of their income. Based on the range of their income, now you have means of identification, which is your NIN and your BVN. With that, you are able to track how much comes into their account as their wage or salary on a monthly basis. With that also, you can now go into an agreement with the banks and the landlords, because there must be an association. There must be a forum where these people gather. Do you understand? So that's where you can have a B2B interaction between the landlords who are independent builders of their own houses, who have done all the expenses on their own, and now the government wants to give price on them. That cannot work. So in a case where there's an association by the government and the people, then they can now link that up with the banking sector so that there can be a synergy from the government with the landlords and then the banks, where there can be an auto debit based on your cadre of earnings. But what is more important in all of these things?
We will have to, because the stream will go off soon. Let's get your concluding thoughts in about 60 seconds, John, please. And then we'll take
my concluding thoughts in about 60 seconds is just that Lagos State government is having a good plan. But what I think they should do importantly is how they can uplift the buying power of Lagosians and increase the economic value in terms of remittances and monthly income. On that note, God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, John Akirile. Chukwuma Okoro, please, let's get your concluding thoughts as well on this one.
Yes, Moses, what Governor Sanwo-Olu is trying to do is a good step in the right direction. I keep saying it. There might be difficulties on the way, but that is the way to start. That is the way to start. They'll keep tweaking it. Policymakers, landlords, tenants, and everybody, up to the point where it gets functional optimally, and everybody becomes a beneficiary of that good policy. It might take a while, 20, 30, 40, or even 50 years, but today is a good starting point.
It's a good start. Thank you very much, Chukwuma Okoro. Nick Agule, I was going to ask, don't you think this is going to increase the rents the more? But anyway, you have a few seconds to give us your concluding thought because we're pressed for time.
Well, yes, the Lagos State government needs to set up a very strong regulatory regime to oversight this rental market that will cover everybody. The landlords, the tenants, the agents, the lawyers, all of those people who are in that space
sector
need to be regulated so that at the end of the day, the tenants are not the sacrificial lambs.
All right, then. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We've been speaking with Nick Agule, John Akirile, and Chukwuma Okoro, who've shared their views with us on this topic. We must say a very big thank you to you, gentlemen, for coming on VOP this morning. We always appreciate your thoughts and comments on the program. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll delve into business, and that'll be followed by entertainment and sports. Stay with us. VOP this morning. We'll be back in a bit.